I'm delighted to welcome into the studio someone we've spoken to a number of times. This is Robert Cohen. And his book is, well, it was supposed to be out. He wanted it out for the World Cup or for Christmas. But it's all right. It's made it out for Valentine's Day, and it's already attracted some lovely reviews. This is called Architecture for Beginners. It's surrounding the antics of two old school friends, one an architect, the other a famous footballer, and when their worlds collide. Lovely to see you back again.
Thank you very much.
It's very
Lovely
nice to see the book actually there. Great cover as well.
Yeah, I'm very pleased with it actually. Yes, it's kind of blue, isn't it? And
Yes,
it's got
blue.
a sort of football stadium, and inside it is a sort of like a stately mansion.
Yeah, the sort of place you'd expect a footballer of this person's status to reside.
Exactly. Yes.
Tell us about the plot then. What exactly?
Well, basically, there's this architect called Alex who's sort of not at the top of his game. He's been kicked out of it, not kicked out, but sidelined from his architectural practice, and at a bit of a low ebb, and he bumps into this old school friend who he's not seen for decades called Reggie, who's also at a low ebb. His wife having killed herself quite recently, and he's also retired, so he's a bit of a loose end. Anyway, Reggie has the bright idea of getting Alex or commissioning him to design and build a football stadium on his country estate.
Right, as you do when you've got more money than sense.
Absolutely.
And this is also, I think we can sort of see parallels in this, that quite often people, when their footballing career starts to come to an end, they enter the world of showbiz and acting, and this is something that he's quite keen on, isn't it?
That's right. Yes, he does actually envisage having a big acting career in Hollywood, and in the case of all these things in the book, some of them come off more successfully than others.
I think there's a lot of us can relate to this about whether it's a relationship worth revisiting when you meet people you were at school with, whether that's best left in the past or whether it can be successful in circumstances like these.
Well, yeah, I like to say that it's sort of about football and architecture, but also more than anything, it's about friendship. In this case, it's a bit of a toxic friendship. Reggie's the kind of person... I've actually got a friend who I've become reunited with myself, who when I was at school, my parents told me to keep away from him because he was, quote-unquote, a bad influence.
Oh, right, okay.
And which undoubtedly he was, but he was, one of the people who actually sort of bothered with me, which was important. And years later, I'm probably more of a bad influence than he is.
Yeah, I think those are the best friends. I'm in touch with a friend. We were bad influences on one another. We weren't allowed anywhere near each other when we were at school, because we just sometimes sort of personalities create that sense of naughtiness, which we did when we were at school.
Yeah.
Where did this all come from then, the inspiration for this?
Well, if you'd asked me a few days ago, I'd have said it was just years ago a momentary imagining of a sort of meeting with encountering someone in Eastbourne, where I grew up, with another old school friend actually envisaged. That's what I thought was where it came from. But the other day I was looking through my diary for 2006, and I came upon an entry which said I started mapping out the plot for a novel called Architecture for Beginners, inspired by an idea I had a while ago about a footballer being haunted by the ghost of his dead wife.
There we and it's taken a while then. It's obviously been bubbling in your head while you've been doing a lot of other, because when we usually speak, it's about the stuff that you're doing on stage.
That's true. Although when I actually conceived this, I was working as a sub-editor at the Times. But throughout all that period, I was also starting to flap my wings as an actor and play. Well, I've done playwriting since I was 16, but also was doing the acting stuff. And I can't remember.
Which do you prefer? Which do you prefer, the writing or the acting?
Well, I suppose if you put a gun to my head and said choose one or the other, I suppose it would be the writing, simply because you can write when no one's employing you to do so, and indeed no one ever employed me to do this. I just got on and did it, and eventually, to my surprise,
How did you find a publisher then? Did you send off your manuscript and get?
I'd actually sort of long since given up any prospect of finding a publisher, and then I was talking to my friend Judy Upton, who you maybe know, the eminent playwright, and she said she'd had her first book published recently, during the big lockdown in fact, and she said it was a company called Hobart Books, and I sort of looked at their website and was surprised to find that at that point they were actually, they were quite new and they were actively seeking submissions.
Amazing.
So I got in touch and they asked to see the book, and they really liked it. Loved it, in fact, as they said. And
amazing. And now you have it in your hand, which must feel,
Indeed.
after sort of years in the making, and now it's here. Are you going to do another one, or are you going to focus more on your stage performances?
I don't know what I'm going to do, actually. I've got some ideas for another one, but until someone's actually asking for one, I don't know. It's sort of early days.
And you've had
we'll
you've had a lovely review, really lovely review that you shared on social media. Tell us about that.
Yes, there's a magazine called Late Tackle who published a lovely review just this week. Laugh out loud, they said.
Fantastic.
And they gave it 8 out of 10 points.
Were you nervous about that then, when you know people are going to review it and it's something that you've put your heart and soul into? And then...
Well, yeah, because they actually had what they call a advanced reader copy last year sometime, and it was I've done more work on it since, but they got the basis of it and they used it to review it. But I was sort of in touch with them constantly over many months, and I kept hoping that they'd say something and say, "Oh, we really loved the book." And I was thinking, well, I'm building myself up for this review. What if they absolutely slate it? And in fact, they didn't.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming in. It's called
Thank you.
Architecture for Beginners, Robert Cohen, available now in all good bookshops or on Amazon.